the Cybersecurity and Compliance Podcast with Craig Petronella. Learn about the most current IT security threats in ransomware, phishing, business email compromise, cybercrime tactics, cyber heist schemes, social engineering scams, as well as hints and tips from leading professionals to help you prevent hackers from penetrating your network and dropping ransomware or malware payloads. This podcast will arm you with the best info to defend your network against the latest cyber crimes. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And now, here's your host, Craig Petronella.
Hello, hello. Welcome again to another podcast. Got Blake Ray.
Hello, everybody. Today we're going to talk about some of the cybersecurity headlines that are going on right now. Which one did you see that interest you?
The Google Calendar being targeted by hackers is interesting.
I'm a huge fan. I don't know, for something about it to me that North Korea has always fascinated me. So apparently there's a North Korean state-linked nation group called Blue Nora that's essentially been using Objective-C commands to hack Mac computers, which you don't see a lot of Mac viruses out there. That's surprising.
So is the quick version to protect yourself on a Mac is just update and reboot, or is there something else that people need to do?
I actually use software called Clean My Mac, which essentially has like malware removal on there. But of course, you always keep your computers up to date, especially Macs. So I remember there was like a rumor going on a long time ago that like Macs can't get viruses.
Yeah, that was a myth a long time ago. Yep.
No, they can. Obviously, I think people just choose not to write Mac viruses because it's a small percentage of the computer market, right? So, like, why are they going to spend all this time, energy, effort, resources creating software that affects like a small percentage of the computer users? So,
yeah.
So no, yeah, just stay up to date. Clean My Mac. It's a good remover. So. What else? Let's see.
Yeah, so I was looking at this Google Calendar thing. It's called C2 or CMMC. It refers to a hacker-controlled server that's used by cyber criminals to send commands to and receive data from computers that have been compromised by malware. So they're saying in this case, there's a new proof of concept exploit that lets hackers use Google Calendar as their C2 infrastructure, just like they've done with Discord, Telegram, and other legitimate services. So they're saying that Google has not observed this in the wild, but it's been shared recently on a bunch of hacking forums. I'm just trying to see if there's anything that people need to do. I don't know about you, but I've noticed maybe with the holidays coming around, an uptick in phishing and smishing and all sorts of social engineering attacks around deliveries and just delivery notifications, or there's been a problem, or payments, ACH payments. I don't know if you've gotten those, but yeah, they're basically preying on that you're going to click on one of these things. The other thing that was kind of interesting that I was going to talk about is, there's a lot of these class action lawsuits that happen, and a lot of times it's hard to distinguish if the email is legitimate. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like sometimes they'll send an email and say, "Oh, XYZ company was involved in a class action lawsuit. If you want to claim damages, you have to click this link." And the first thing I'm not clicking on those links, So, and they register these like super long domain names that are like notorious for being used in like hacking and phishing and stuff. So I don't know. I don't. What about you? Have you ever participated in any of that stuff? I just avoid it.
Yeah, realistically, it probably isn't even worth my time, but I was a part of the Experian or one of those credit union breaches. By the time you submit your paperwork and do all that, I mean, and you get like $5 or $6, like, is it really worth it? Like, there should be a higher cost associated with, I mean, like, they need to set some type of minimum damages, like, clause, where it's like, if you look at my customer profile from any company, like, my data is worth thousands of dollars because, they can use my data to deliver ads to influence purchasing or buying habits, or I mean, my data is worth thousands of dollars. I mean, every person's data out there arguably is probably worth the same. And then
And I would argue that it's probably worth more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, if it depending on how detailed the data is, I mean, companies would be willing to pay, I would say, tens of thousands of dollars if they can get certain data points.
Exactly. So there you go. But yeah, it's kind of offensive when like my social security number or, my credit, information is compromised and they give you $5. Like,
Yeah,
really
I think also my point is that the mechanism, or in this case, the email, obviously email is insecure. So email is so relied upon as the vehicle to transmit this information. And I feel like there should be a government website and like a portal. Hey, you've been involved in this this class action lawsuit. You can claim damages of $20 or whatever. And then you should be able to log into the dashboard of the government website and then claim, your damages or whatever. You shouldn't be going to weird email or responding to a weird email address that you've never seen before and then clicking on links. I mean, that's just a recipe for disaster. And like you said, I mean, oftentimes it's going to lead you down a rabbit hole. You're going to fill out a bunch of paperwork and you're going to get $5.
There's been one for my car. There recently, I got an email like a few days ago. My pressure cooker, there was some lawsuit, my pressure cooker. And they're like, oh, like the gradient levels on the side of it like aren't marked properly. Like it could expose you to like boiling, like burns, like don't use your pressure cooker. And then but the remedy is like click here and register your pressure cooker and they'll send you like a new gradient or so yeah, I've been a part of a few of them. And yeah, I definitely think the government should have some type of resource to like step in and mandate these recalls, because they're the ones that are forcing these recalls. Like the companies don't want to do that. Like they lose money, they lose, and
well, it goes back to, there's just no standardization. There's no it's like a free for all, and then everybody's just kind of on their own. I mean, like I was talking to one of our partners, and he's a CMMC registered practitioner, and he was saying that the CMMC or Cyber AB now, it used to be the CMMC AB, now it's the Cyber AB. They changed the requirements that if you're an RP, you need to be associated. You can't just be an RP on your own anymore. You have to be associated with an RPO. And obviously we're an RPO, we're both RPs, and we're associated with the firm, the RPO. Well, anyway, since we're good partners, I allowed him to, join. We're partners anyway, so you might as well join our RPO. So that gives him access to some of the training or whatever that the Cyber AB has come out with. And I heard that basically CMMC is on Biden's desk right now. It just needs to be signed. So that's good news. I feel like it's so important for standardization. And there's also a new track now. I don't know if you're aware of this, Blake, but there's now a registered provider advanced track. So fun stuff for us. Now we got to take another another training. Right. But I mean, I guess that I haven't done it yet. I haven't looked through it, but long story short, I haven't logged into the portal in a long time. I go to log into the portal, and of course it doesn't like the password that I saved in my password manager. So then I go to the password reset, and it's like, oh no, this doesn't work. You need to email, blah, blah, blah. So I email, and then I'm like waiting. I don't have access to it. So it's just like, it's like one thing leads to the next. But my point, kind of bringing it first full circle is for the, just to kind of close the loop on the class action lawsuits and things like that. Lawyers in general, I feel like there's just not a lot of standardization, too much emphasis placed on insecure email. I mean, I was, doing some stuff with a law firm, and they're like, yeah, fill out this paperwork or whatever. And I'm like, well, do you have an encrypted email or a portal? And they're like, no, we just use Dropbox. I'm like, no, I'm not using Dropbox. Sorry. I'm like, here's my encrypted email. But my point is that, we're smart enough to kind of to see that and then react and provide a solution. But what does the average consumer do? The average consumer, they're relying on the company or the vendor or the government to provide these resources that are supposed to be secure. But it's like, I feel like we're in the Wild West now, where everybody's got to have their own solution. You know what I mean? It's just like there's just no standardization on any of it. So I hope that the CMMC, bringing that into this, will help streamline regulation and reduce confusion, because in my opinion, it's been quite the bumpy road. I mean, it's been expensive, super expensive for us to participate in the ecosystem. I mean, we've helped a lot of great clients, but I still feel like there's just so many potential prospects and clients out there that are just really doing nothing, just kind of waiting on the sidelines. And if this thing gets signed, which I really do hope that it does get signed, I feel like that's going to be almost like a gate lifted for people needing help and finally coming off the sidelines. Maybe. I mean, I'm trying to be optimistic around that. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's just been, what has it been? It's like almost 4 years now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember it was signed a long time ago. Yeah, I think.
Well, the executive order was signed, and then there were updates, but the CMMC was just kind of in beta. Then it went to 1.0, then it went to 2.0. So anyway, hopefully, maybe by the time this thing airs, we'll have a signed off CMMC ecosystem and program, and I think once that happens, I think that not only people and companies will maybe take it more seriously, but maybe vendors will take it more seriously too, because I feel like vendors are, again, another free-for-all. It's like, well, we're not really compliant with that, but we have this, and it's not even the same thing. Like, it might be CSF or some version of NIST, but not quite 800, 171 or 172, and not near CMMC. And then the same thing with HIPAA compliance. So I think that, just all this would get simmered down and simplified.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's so many mandates that cybersecurity and compliance mandates that one company has to jump through. I would like to see it kind of centralized, like CMMC, could be used in all businesses,
Yeah, that's kind of my point. And also, to kind of come off of that, the reason why it's beneficial for all businesses, in my opinion, is because of the maturity, the structure. You really need the documentation, the policies, the procedures, the organization of all of it. It's only going to help your business grow.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you have the ability to take somebody's money, right, you should have the ability to protect their information that they give you. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just like, I mean, if you have kids, right, and something happens and somebody breaks into your house, I know this is the worst analogy, but, you as a father are expected to defend your family, right? A lot of these companies, they take your money, but they don't defend your data. They're just like, oh, well, too bad. Sorry. I mean, all the big players do it. I mean, there's no regulation. Right. So if you're taking somebody,
well, not only is there no regulation, there's no, I guess the better way to put it is there's no clear rules and guidelines. There's no clear blueprints on this is how you do this. And then there's no clear supporting boots on the ground for enforcement. So I think that's the kind of the big mess, I feel like, with the way things have been for a while it's just like, oh yeah, we're regulated, we need to comply with XYZ compliance. And then really, I feel like, in my opinion, the only ones that really play ball are the ones that get pressure from a vendor. Like the vendor's like, oh, you want to do, they're the bigger company typically, they're the more mature company. They're like, you want to be our customer? Well, where's your cybersecurity pen test evidence? Have you done a third party audit? Where's your gap assessment? Where's all this stuff? And then the vendor's like asking for all this stuff, and then small business typically is like, what's that? And then they go on these rabbit holes of like, how do I answer this question? And it usually starts with cybersecurity insurance or some questionnaire there, and then that leads to something else, maybe with the vendor that requires supporting evidence of certain things being done. So my point is, it's usually this kind of journey that happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the way to secure your business, right? Like, that's not the way that you legitimize your business. Like, if you are taking money from somebody, like, there is an exchange. You're getting compensated for your work, your effort, your security, your compliance. Like, you're getting compensated for that. It's a weird world where people just say, oh, I can get X money from the government and do nothing for it. I mean, it's we live in that world where people think that they can take money for nothing.
Well, and we talked about this on the last episode. I think we also live in a time where everything is so trustless, and you can't trust anyone, can't trust any company. Everything needs to be verified, on so many levels. And I mean, just look at the headlines. I mean, banking, I don't know if you remember back in 2008 with the whole crisis and banks and over lending and overstretching with credit. And, that's all, in my opinion, the writing's on the wall. It's all pretty much happening again. And I think this time around, people are starting to catch wind around, hey, maybe this isn't the best system anymore. So I think people are getting smarter, and there's different perspectives on things, but a lot of people don't really understand how it all works, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. So it's, we're in this time period where there's so much overload. I mean, like with everything, like AI, artificial intelligence. Elon Musk, announces that he put out Grok. I don't know. Did you see that?
No.
So he launched Grok, which is the competitor to ChatGPT and Google Bard. So it's Elon Musk's take on, hey, these guys made a chatbot, so I want an AI chatbot. And supposedly it's more, I guess, less censored. So certain topics that were kind of off the table, where maybe OpenAI won't respond, or ChatGPT won't work, or Google Bard won't work. This is supposed to have more of almost like a humor to it, or a sarcasm to it. I haven't tried it yet. Apparently there's a wait list, so I got on the wait list to play around with it. But it's just like, there's just so much information, and it's hard. I feel like it's hard to pick apart what information is trustworthy and what's not, because what a lot of people don't realize too is a lot of the media is paid off by certain groups too, and there's bias and influence. So it's really hard to get the truth, and anyway, we're going on a rabbit hole, but that kind of deviated.
I know AI's been like a buzzword, like, it was like crypto for a while, and then now it's AI. And did you see there is a company that appointed a CEO, like appointed an AI bot as their CEO? Did you see that?
No.
Yeah. So I saw this article on Bloomberg or whatever.
I mean, is that like fabricated, or is that like?
I think it's just a PR stunt.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. I mean, I feel like that's something that just kind of gets press.
Exactly. That's the buzzword, right? So it's a Colombian rum company. I'm not going to say their name because clearly they're getting all the free press, right? Appointed an AI robot as the company CEO. Mika is a research project between Hanson Robotics and a Polish rum company who customized the CEO to represent the company and its unique values. Mika said that with advanced artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms, I can swiftly and accurately make data-driven decisions. Okay, cool. We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah. Well, I know Elon, when he launched Grok, he was basically saying that he sees AI as like the future where it's going to basically take everybody's job and we're all going to live an elevated lifestyle. And I just don't see that. I mean, I understand like the whole Terminator thing. And, I've taken a lot of AI certifications and things like that. And I do think that there's a use case for a lot of it. I think it's helpful. I think that I think one analogy is it amplifies your skills and gives you almost like superpowers to do certain things. And it does more of the grudge work that a lot of people don't want to do. It's really good at that, right? But I don't really see that it's going to completely replace a human, especially, at the higher levels. I do think that, like sorting data or data classification, things like that, it's just really just mind-numbing work. I think that's great for AI. But I do think that it'll eliminate some of the quote unquote jobs in the lower bracket, but it'll also create new jobs. And I think it's going to create new jobs that are different, that either don't necessarily exist yet or that are brand new. And just, like I said, that those mundane tasks will just completely just keep getting distilled and drilled down.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there has to be a human element of everything except for, like you said, like data sorting. Like, I mean, there's a lot of jobs out there that people don't want to do, right? And AI may fill the gap for those jobs. I mean, they're not gonna, be your dumpster, like your trash pickup on Saturdays. I mean, AI is not going to do that. Maybe.
I mean, I do think that I think that might be a bad example. I do think that one day there could be probably a reinvention of trash pickup where you can have an autonomous vehicle, pick up your trash, right? And who knows? Maybe that'll work out well. I think that there's going to be, like I said, good use cases and bad use cases. I think, like in our world for compliance, I do think that in the future, when CMMC is law and CMMC then puts on a lot more pressure to vendors like Amazon AWS GovCloud, Microsoft Azure, I think that there will be push button compliance from a security control perspective. Now, what I mean by that is you may be a defense industrial base contractor and who knows, in 20 years, you may be able to sign up for Microsoft's GCC High and click a button, or fill a questionnaire, and it'll auto harden the environment. I could see something like that, but our jobs wouldn't be eliminated. I mean, we as humans and cyber experts would still be needed to work with the humans and the other aspects outside of the configuration of the endpoint or the system level. Does that make sense? Like, so it's like the security hardening, the manual process, all that stuff that has like detailed instructions, you can program to do, software to do that. But when you get a higher level discussion or a tabletop or simulations, you can't really automate all of those things, especially the more complicated ones.
Yeah, I agree. And then something that I thought about too, whenever you're talking, is like the older Terminator movie, when like it was like, I think it's Terminator 2 with the liquid guy.
Yeah, that's the second one.
Yeah. But yeah, like, and there's a scene there where the young kid is like crying, and then he's like, "What's wrong with your eyes?" And he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it." And then, like the robot doesn't understand emotion.
Right.
And the only reason why I say that is because there is a lot of decisions that have to be made emotionally, like in day-to-day operations, that businesses need to make, it could be hiring somebody, it could be firing somebody, it could be moving from vendor to vendor, for the best of the business, for the best of the future of the company. Like those are emotional decisions that no robot, no software, no script can make. And these AI bots and algorithms are designed to perform tasks beyond that, right? So I don't know, I agree, I don't see them taking over. And I'm surprised that Elon was doing something like that, because he was talking about, I thought he invested in ChatGPT, and then I don't know if that was just a rumor, but then he was talked about how like ChatGPT was like the worst thing ever. But if we're being real, like Elon Musk is he's obviously known in tech and he's known by everybody, but yeah, I mean, it took a lot of government funding to get him to where he's at, to build Tesla and to build these EVs and these solar panels. And like, he's secured a lot and developed a lot of his success off the backs of taxpayers, right? Like he had a lot of companies that failed before PayPal,
Well, and there's the whole, I don't know if you've been following, but there's the whole kind of perspective on the whole electric car vehicle thing too. Like there's a lot of, like I heard recently in headlines that sales are down and that people are starting to realize that there's just a lot of gaps in the current market with EVs where, range, for example, lacking infrastructure.
Yeah.
So it's like, the push to go this direction to not need gas, right? Like I looked at my fuel usage for like last year, my fuel usage, I don't drive a lot, but less than $10,000, okay, for the year. And I'm like, well, I can buy an electric vehicle, but an electric vehicle costs a whole lot more money than typically a gas vehicle. And I'm restricted on, I always have to have in the back of my head, well, where can I go? And what if I get stuck? Or what if people don't realize that if you go faster, or if you're pulling something like a trailer, or you're loading the vehicle up, you're straining the battery more. So your range reduces, so if you go certain speeds or you do fast acceleration, things like that, you're draining the power faster. So then you need a charge, So yeah, it's getting better, like hotels, partnerships are being created all the time. I envision a world one day where the vehicles maybe charge themselves on the highways. But again, that requires revamp of infrastructure, right?
There's solar panels now that you can outfit, I think is Tesla, but it's like a solar roof panel that will charge your car.
But wouldn't, I mean, so like I would envision that Tesla would just embed that technology into the roof of the paint of the car.
Yeah, I think I think that's the direction,
But my point is that we're like, we see, or the whole push towards EVs and less reliance on other countries for. I get all that, I support all that, but might not be the cure-all solution for all situations, is my point. You know what I mean? Like there's a purpose. Maybe if you're going to use it as a, just a commuter car, take your kids to school or something like that, maybe that's a great way to use it. But if, you want to go to the mountains or the beach, or you want to take a road trip, it's a little risky in my opinion, because you have to kind of plan your route based on charging. And then what if you have a situation where you get stuck or something happens, or, you know what I mean? Like, so anyway, my point is that same with AI. AI has been around before they kind of amplified the whole marketing buzzword of AI. Automations have been around for a while. Just using like junk mail filtering. Gmail labels and sifting and sorting of auto suggestions from Google. All that's AI driven. It's been around forever. So it's just kind of, I think it's just how you apply it and I think that there are good ways to apply it, but I don't think that I don't think there's going to be a mass execution of jobs, and nobody's going to be able to find work or anything like that. I do think that there are cool things being developed, and I think that that'll continue to happen. And most will fail, and some will, come to fruition. And I think overall, it's just like any other technological, advancement.
Yeah, I don't think the government's going to hand over the keys to the missile silos to AI like they do in Terminator not anytime soon. I don't
Yeah.
think that's going to happen. And yeah, I mean, the future's here. I remember, again, like watching, I'm a movie guy, but watching Back to the Future, and I think it was like 2018 or whenever they traveled into the future and they had flying cars, in that movie, right? And it's like, where are those at?
Well, that kind of reminded me of remember, this was what, I think 5, maybe 7 years ago now. Remember Amazon was really pushing drones?
Yeah.
Drone delivery. I don't know about you, but in Las Vegas, but here they have drone delivery for certain things now. Do you have that?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Where you could order like lunch.
Yeah, I think I don't really pay too much attention to that, but I think so. I mean, they're in Vegas as self-driving cars. Have you seen those?
I haven't seen them like face to face or anything, but I've heard of them, and I've
I
also.
see them everywhere.
Oh, really? So I heard of something that they were testing. I don't know which vehicle it was or whatever, but then a woman got caught under it. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, somebody got caught trapped under the car, and it was like drug under the car, and it was an autonomous vehicle, so it was a mess. It was horrible.
Yeah, the ones that they're using here in Vegas are like a Hyundai Equus or whatever. They're like little SUVs, and they have like spider arms that come off of them from the top, and then they have like cameras in every corner of it. I mean, and like all across the bumper. I mean, they're camered up like in every direction. And I think I've never ridden in them, but they have to have somebody behind the wheel like of the car should some incident happen.
Well, that's what I thought that the Tesla design was for. I thought that like on Teslas you can have the full autonomous mode, but you have to be like there to make to help or whatever.
As it should be. And then I have if you come to the convention center in Vegas, like if you take a Uber or like a ride share and it's a Tesla and you're going to the convention center, they take you underground into these little Teslas, and then the car just starts driving itself through these they're like little slim little tubes. I mean, it's like you could like literally reach out and like almost like put your hand on like it's crazy.
Oh, that's wild.
The experience, for first time people going through it, because it's like, how is this car driving? I mean, through here, like it's like so narrow. It's like just barely big enough for the car to fit through it.
That's crazy.
And yeah, it's pretty crazy. And then the car does the whole thing, drives the whole route, So if you're in Vegas, try that out.
Cool. Well,
let's end on that one.
What's that?
So we should probably end on that one.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So I think that's a good drop off point. But yeah, I think the summary is AI is not going to eliminate your job anytime soon, unless you're doing one of those mundane tasks that we talked about. But which would probably be better for you anyway to not continue to do that and find some other, more rewarding work.
Yeah, I guess the future will be an AI president, right? We'll see what happens with that, see if this AI can do a good job at this liquor company. And then what if, that could be the future, right? Where the AI make government-based decisions. Who knows?
I think AI is going to severely disrupt the legal industry.
Yeah.
I think the legal industry is really going to get upended with a lot of AI-driven software and tools around like wills, trusts, all that stuff, I think is going to be just huge around tools like AI to kind of systematize that. I think for that, I don't think it's going to like mass eliminate the need to have lawyers. I just think that certain types of work like that will get eliminated.
But, yeah. I mean, I can see it. There's websites right now where you can get contracts written up, for nothing, using software. So, I agree. I agree.
Now I wouldn't. So just kind of caveat, I would consider using a tool like that, but I would never use it. I would still want a human lawyer to review it in the end, because there's just so many things that are. I guess my point is, if it costs $5,000 for a lawyer or a group of lawyers to do like a will trust kind of thing, I'd rather pay some software $500 to do it and automate everything, but then pay the lawyer another $500 or whatever their hourly fee is, and then get them to review it. And in the end, I'm still saving money because I paid, using that scenario, maybe $1,000 instead of $5,000. So it's still a disruptor, but I'd rather have the peace of mind knowing that, okay, this has been reviewed. And I think there's great value in that. And I think that's a human executive function. And that's kind of my point. And that's kind of the takeaway here. The same with the cyber and compliance. I don't mind leveraging the latest and greatest in tools, but we need our team. We need our people as humans to go through it. You can automate vulnerability scans and some of these things, but it's never the same effect as a real hacker or a white hat that would go through things.
Yeah, I mean, we can obviously look at things that in other perspectives, like we can shed light from different angles that software can do, right? It's only designed to perform
and with less brackets, I guess, is less stringent tunnel vision around it, so we can look at
like for example, like some of the compliance software that we use, it's like, oh, if we were to run like a sweep of all their documents, it's like, oh, this company's not compliant, right? And then we go over and manually override it and saying, oh, this control doesn't apply to that company for X, Y.
Or there might be like a way to sanitize the data to make it out of scope.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening.
Yes, we'll see you on the next one.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Cybersecurity and Compliance Podcast with Craig Petronella. For other episodes and more information, visit petronellatech.com. Also visit our other websites, compliancearmor.com and blockchainsecurity.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for listening, and stay secure.